Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. We're gonna be jumping into some more Warhammer 40K lore and goodness here. We're gonna be checking out another video that was recommended to me by one of my YouTube members. This is The End and the Death 3, the Emperor Interned voiceover by DQVQ, or DQVO, excuse me. Links will be down below in the description, as always, to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to DQVO's channel. Please do me a favor, if you enjoy this content, if you like the video as we go through it, go over there and give it a like, and check out his channel. If he's got content on there that you're interested in and enjoy, you know, give the man a sub. But yeah, with all that said, we're just gonna jump into this video here. So again, this is The End and the Death 3, the Emperor Interned voiceover. Again, as I said before, and previous videos, any lore about the Emperor I'm all about. He is, to me, the most interesting character, and I'm all about learning more about him, his origins, what his plan potentially is for humanity, and where things are going with him. So, check it out. The End and the Death 3. Dan Abnett. The Emperor Interred on the throne.
Thus is
Erebus
my
is the
friend
real villain.
returned to me. This was the plan I made, and thus it is accomplished, but not in the way I imagined, or the way any of us imagined. Plans are the delusion of man. We make them to feel safe and to secure the future.
Plans are the delusion of man. It's an interesting quote. I mean, what is that famous quote from Mike Tyson? Everybody has a plan when they're getting into a fight until they get punched in the face, right? I mean, I think that's kind of like the simple way of saying what's being said right here. You know, you can have a plan, but they never really work out the way you plan.
Some are simply the lies we tell ourselves.
That's what I figured. I figured this was
or
Malcador, yeah.
promises we cannot keep. Or dreams we hope will see us through the night. Those few that last and come to fruition seldom do so in the ways we expect. Yet still, we make them.
You know, on a side topic, it almost sounds kind of like Morgan Freeman in a way. Like, listen to the voice. It almost sounds like this could be like Morgan Freeman's brother or something like that, right? Like, just listen to the voice.
We have always made them, and those that come after me, I'm sure, will continue to do so.
I'm sure we'll continue to do so. Like, I can't unhear it. I can't unhear it now.
They are all we have. Our only armor, stronger than warplate. My friend.
I don't know why sometimes the chat shows up on the screen, but not in the actual chat. Well, also the fact that Malcador and Big E spent their whole lives planning to prevent the future that was always going to come to pass and never spent any time actually living. True. I mean, yeah, like, they worked extremely hard to try to secure a future for humanity and never actually spent the time to live their lives, essentially, right? Like, from what I understand of the Emperor, depending on what his origin story is, if it is, you know, if you go with the shaman origin story of, you know, a group of shamans, however many of them were powerful psychers at some point in like ancient human history, and they saw what was going to happen in the future to humanity and, you know, the chaos and gods and all that kind of stuff. So they went through some kind of essentially ritual suicide that would then combine their souls into one all-powerful being, hence the birth of the Emperor. Like, yeah, they've literally spent their entire existence, or his entire existence, planning for this. And not actually, and that's basically what his life has been, is trying to create and mold humanity into what it needed to be in order to combat the forces of chaos. And that's all his life has ever been. And so when, you know, you hear Malkador say it's unfathomable the kind of sacrifices that the Emperor has given and gone through in order to try to achieve his goals and the plans that he set out. Yeah. Imagine 50,000 years of existence of doing nothing but living towards that one goal, or, you know, trying your best to mold humanity and make sure that these plans come to fruition. Essentially being the steward of humanity. You know, so it's always been that way, Howard. YouTube Live, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's something weird with YouTube chat where sometimes it'll show up here on the screen, but it doesn't actually show up in the actual chat log. I don't understand it. I don't get why it happens. Steward is a good word for it, yeah. That's really kind of what the Emperor is and has been, is the steward of humanity, trying to guide them and mold them to a future away from essentially chaos.
Knows this, for all we have, always, yet still, we make them. We have always made them, and those that come after me, I'm sure, will continue to do so. They are all we have. Our only armor. After plan, down through the ages that he has ruled as king. Not because he is stubborn or a fool, but because he knows they are the best we can do. The trick, and there is always a trick, is to expect them to fail.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it really works, right? You make a plan, and then you expect them to fail, which then leads you to essentially going into like a chess match of things. How is it going to fail? What kind of contingencies can I put in place in case it fails? What if it fails this way, etc., etc.? And then you just locked into these multiple expanding pathways of what to do if this happens and that happens. And again, then that becomes your existence. At least that's what it seems to be for the Emperor.
To anticipate the way the future will squirm to escape.
And I think that's also part of the fundamental nature of chaos in and of itself, is like the Emperor is almost the sense of order. And again, depending on what origin story you kind of believe of the Emperor, the great old ones, that seems to be their bag, right? Their whole thing was trying to create life in a sense of some order in the galaxy, which is why they didn't want to interfere with the Necrons, I believe, or at least one of the reasons. And so if he is one of these fragments of the old ones, and he's essentially trying to reestablish a kind of order in the universe, chaos being the opposite, fits. But, that's kind of the nature of chaos, is that you can't really plan for it. And inevitably things are going to break down and break apart. And it's about getting up and recovering from that and still moving forward as best you can.
Escape them. To compensate. To build contingencies. To make not...
I don't know exactly what his power level is as far as certain things go, but from what I understand, he has had like actual meetings with the various gods of chaos potentially, and has resisted being able to, succumb to them. His psychic powers are strong enough to be able to withstand actual, like, I guess, face-to-face communication with the various chaos gods, to my understanding. I could be wrong about that. That could be like fan lore stuff, but to my understanding, that is essentially how the Primarchs in part were created, was that he went to the chaos gods and learned from them, or struck a deal with them, and they taught him how to take the essence of demons or greater demons and enhance the Primarchs with them. So the Primarchs are essentially, demons in human form, if you want to say. And that's why they scattered them, as, because he backed out on their deal. But, that just shows that he's able to resist them and their power and not be able to be overcome by them. So he is quite extremely powerful, if that is the case. Once right out of passage where the Emperor describes his foresight upstream. Yeah. Like, he can see the various possibilities, but he doesn't necessarily understand them.
Not one. Friend made many plans, and the blade has passed through almost every single one of them.
I think that's true, Michael, and that's why Sanguinius, because like Conrad, Sanguinius, I believe, knew when and how and where he was going to die. And that's why, throughout his time, he was never really afraid of anything, because he knew how his end was going to be, right? And so that's how he knew certain things were going to play out in certain ways that led to how things happened at the end with him fighting against Horus. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with their own fate. Exactly. They knew about their own. They didn't know about how the universe of things were going to play out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But wasn't Malkador dead at this point? Because didn't he have to sit on the throne in order to keep the psychic barriers up while the Emperor went and met Horus? And didn't that kill Malkador? Or is it like him being like, okay, he's seeing this and these are his thoughts, and he's like, these are his thoughts just before that end happens, right? Because to my understanding, Malkador died, he gave his life in order to hold back those psychic barriers while the Emperor had to step out, right? Okay.
They are weeping. Of course they are.
Right. Okay. So he does see this. Okay, I got you.
A silence falls upon the throne room. Falcon starts forward to meet them from the foot of the dais, and at his side, Uzkarel and the other custodian.
Can you imagine that, though, right? Like, can you imagine being Malcador? Well, I don't know how long Malcador has been alive with the Emperor, right? It sounds like for a long time. And they're both perpetuals, from what I understand. That doesn't necessarily mean they can't die, but they're just extremely long-lived, and, you know, they might not succumb to sickness and normal things that could take, you know, humans, but they can still be killed in other means. And it could also mean that they could, you know, their spirits could resurrect, etc., etc., etc. But, like, just the idea of, like, you know, if you've been around with someone for so long, thousands of years, maybe even tens of thousands of years, and then seeing a moment where that person you've known for that long, who potentially in your eyes might be almost invincible, godlike, is now, you know, dying, like, that would be a crazy moment. Especially someone like the Emperor, who has done so much in that time period to shape humanity. Like, I can only imagine, like, the feelings and emotions that Malcador would be going through watching that at that moment. Right. Something, yeah. I know they've been around together for a long time. It was definitely, like, towards the end of is it the end of the Age of Strife? Right? It was, they've known each other since the Unification Wars of Terra, essentially, from what I understand.
Weeping. Of course they are. A silence falls upon the throne room. Falcon starts forward to meet them from the foot of the dais, and at his side, Uzkarel and the other custodians leave their place to help carry their lord. This is a time of grief, but I am glad. I am here to see it. My last bequest is fulfilled, however imperfectly. I am not alive to witness it, but I am present at least. My whole self burned away hours ago.
Yeah, okay.
And even the sigil of me that remained is all but erased. But it has persisted this long. The material man may perish, but the informational man lasts a little longer. Some parts of me will last for years to come, I think, as ideas in the minds of my chosen few. That's my plan, at least. I have lasted this long because I had to. Not to see him home. But
And also think, like, how much of Giga Chad is Malcador to, like, he's just a regular human, right? Like, he hasn't been enhanced in any way, shape, or form. Granted, he is an extremely powerful, you know, psyker for being just a normal human, but, like, him just keeping it together for as long as he did because it's something that absolutely had to, you know, on the throne dealing with this. Like, absolute Giga Chad.
but to hold the throne until he returned. As they bring him up the steps towards me, I feel their urgent expectation. The throne is his only chance. It will save him. It will restore him and sustain him. This is what they have understood from the signs and symbols that both he and I have tried to show them.
True. I need to put that on there.
Signs and symbols are the only language we have left. This will save him. Like plans, though, symbols are imprecise. They are fluid, and they seldom mean what we presume they mean. Rogel and Constantine believe they are saving him. They think that the throne is his only chance. In fact, the reverse is also true. He is the throne's only chance. I know it, and my friend knows it. This is what we were trying to tell them. Yes, the throne may stabilize him and suspend him, as it did me, but that's beside the point. He is the only one who can stabilize it, for I can no longer perform that task, and thus it will tether him here, to this seat, to this room, to this reality, on the brink of death and the verge of life.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Knock doors a Giga Chad, brother.
Both wounded and whole, unborn and yet reborn, ended yet unending, now and forever. It was never his intended plan, but it was a contingency. My King of Ages knew it might come to this. If the permutations of the future aligned in this particular way. That's what he told me, anyway. He had me believe he would be ready if there was no other choice, and I see none from where I am sitting. It will be agony. I can vouch for that.
I mean, yeah. Your entire existence is sitting there trying to hold these warp barriers at bay while also being a beacon of light in the warp, so the various, navigators can see their way through the warp. Not to mention, all the various, people that you're still trying to influence, whether it's, Gilliman and giving him visions and things, or, drawing a blank on the Primarch's name now. Alfarius, whether it's Alfarius and maybe, guiding him or whoever you're guiding, you know what I'm saying? Like, him still sitting there and struggling to move things towards that plan while still just, his spirit is essentially falling apart and only being really kept alive by the throne and the bodies that are being thrown to him daily. So, like, the struggle of doing all these things, keeping his warp barriers at hold, guiding people in the various places to do things in certain ways in order to try to keep pushing humanity towards, his goal and plan. It's still, to me, I still feel like there's got to be some kind of contingency or some way where the Emperor is able to come back. I feel like that's where they're trying to move the universe towards. Like, they've had so many extremes of things happening in the universe that are against, like, humanity, with, the warp, the galaxy essentially being split in half by, the warp now. And the Tyranids are more active in invading. All the bad guys essentially are more active in invading. It's even to the point where basically Gilliman is working with Eldar, in order to quell a lot of the things that are going on. And, the Primarchs are starting to return. So I really feel like, they're ramping things up, and eventually the Emperor will come back in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like, you know, that's where things are going. I don't know. It's just me.
I have tasted.
Yeah, that would be a long video, brother. But I agree. It would be interesting for someone to actually put together a updated heresy story lore, you know, video of all the actual events now that everything in that is done and up to date. And they seemingly are starting to actually work and progress the present timeline in the 40K. I mean, he kind of had to be, right? Like, he kind of more than the emperor really raised them, because he's the one who is tasked with teaching a lot of them and bringing them in line with what the emperor's plans were while the emperor was busy doing other things. Like, there isn't a whole lot of interaction with the emperor and a lot of the primarchs, you know. So really Malcador was the kind of their father figure and raised them and taught them how to fight and what their purpose was in life, you know. So Malcador really kind of is, well, he was their father, you know.
moment. Finally, I feel something. It's time.
Check the description for the details. All right. Well, there we have it. The End and the Death 3, the Emperor Interned voiceover by DQVO. Really good video, you know, from the perspective of Malcador kind of in his last moments as he's holding the golden throne until the Emperor is brought in and seated there, you know. His last thoughts of the Emperor and the various plans they've had throughout the centuries, millennia, and you know how everything potentially really is kind of falling apart, and no matter how much and what they plan for, you can't really plan for everything. And you know, just the idea, like I said, of, you know, knowing someone, like knowing a figure like that, like the Emperor, you know, this being who is greater than any other kind of human, potentially what humanity could evolve into and become in some distant, far off future. You know, seeing him as, you know, throughout the ages as this almost godlike being, essentially dying in front of you, like the kind of just seeing that image, and then seeing, you know, the Primarchs that were there, who he basically raised, like we were saying, Vulcan and Dorn and etc., and you know, seeing them have their emotional breakdowns and knowing what they have to do to keep the Emperor alive, and knowing what the Emperor is going to have to continue to go through for, you know, however long it's going to be. You know, who knows how long the Emperor could potentially be sitting on that throne forever, until, you know, humanity is either wiped out or succeeds in, you know, their great crusade. And just like I said, how much of a Giga Chad is Malcador to be able to sit there and hold the throne like he did? His physical body's burned away, and all that's left of him is the essence of his spirit, and he's still holding the throne together until the Emperor can get on there, and then giving the last of them to help the Emperor stabilize and fulfill his purpose of holding the golden throne. So, great story, great story. Again, The End of the Death 3, The Emperor Interned by DQVO. Links will be down below in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to DQVO's channel. Please do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video as you went through it, go over there and give it a like, and check out his content. If you enjoy it, give the man a sub. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube memberships, tiers and benefits that I offer. Been around the channel for a while and decided you want to take your support to the next level. Check those out and see if any of that would have any interest for you. But thanks guys for watching. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you like this video, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and the channel grow. I'll check you guys out in the next one. Take it easy.